Stick around to find out how I make this gorgeous whipped coffee body scrub. So there are two star ingredients for this formula. The first one is coffee butter. It's an emollient which is packed with vitamins, antioxidants and fatty acids which hydrate and smooth the skin. It also helps to reduce the appearance of cellulite and damaged skin. It can also add to our coffee theme. Then on the same coffee theme, I'm adding coffee grounds. They're quite a rough exfoliant, so less is more. Here's the formula and recipe for a 200 gram batch. Since this is an aqueous, that means water-based formula, we won't be using any sugar because we don't want it to dissolve. First thing I like to do is wipe down my work surface with isopropyl alcohol and get all my equipment and ingredients ready. So here I've weighed out all of my ingredients and I'm just going to finish off by portioning out the coffee grounds that I'm going to use. These can be any coffee grounds just that you have in the house. They can even be used ones if you wish. You may find those better because the colour won't bleed from them so much once it's in the scrub. If you don't like coffee, then you can adapt this recipe to not include it at all. All of that is in the blog post, which is available on my Patreon page. So let's get started with our phase A ingredients, which is our 30 grams of SCI and our 30 grams of cocamidal propyl betaine. And you just want to mix those together until it forms this lovely sort of soft white paste. And then you can put that aside. Then we're going to work on phase B, and this is our water phase. And we're going to add 10 grams of glycerin. I'm using vegetable glycerin, to 93 grams of distilled water, and just make sure you get all of the glycerin in there so that you're not off on your measurements. And then once you've decanted that, you can put that aside. Then we can work on our oil phase, phase C, and I've got 16 grams of stearic acid. This is used to thicken the product, act as an emulsifier and soften the skin and help to retain moisture. And we're going to use that in conjunction with our actual emulsifier, which is the emulsifying wax, and I'm using 6 grams. You can use any emulsifier you like, but for the sake of wash-off products, then I find emulsifying wax is more than enough. Then we're going to use our star ingredient, the coffee butter, and you'll see here it looks a little bit like Biscoff sandwich spread if you've ever tried that. If you haven't, I suggest you go get some because it's possibly the best thing ever. But anyway, the texture will vary depending on where you get yours from. Mine is actually quite soft and quite dark, but you will find it quite hard and quite light in other places as well. It doesn't really matter, however you get it, it still has that beautiful scent and imparts the benefits. So yeah, don't worry about that. Just add that into your oil phase, and now you've got your 3 phases ready to be heated. What you want to do is weigh your water phase and just take a note of the weight, just to make sure that you replace any water lost to evaporation once you're done heating. Now you just want to heat them until your oil phase has melted and all of them are about the same temperature. We do this in a bain-marie or water bath. This is about 1 to 2 inches of water in a pan and on a medium heat, and then just gently heat that until they melt. The reason for the water is just to control the heating process so that you don't burn or ruin any of your ingredients. So we'll do that, and then once we take these off the heat, we will replace any water lost to evaporation, and then we're going to create our emulsion. To create the emulsion, pour the water phase into the oil phase, and then you can add your phase A surfactants. So I'm going to use a spatula for this because it's a bit thicker, and you'll see it's a bit globby. It doesn't really look like it'll blend in at all, but don't worry just yet. Just make sure you get everything out the beaker that you can and plop it in with all the rest. Once you've done that, you can grab a handheld mixer, a bit like you use for making cakes. I've just got one beater because I'm obviously doing this in a small beaker. And just whip that until it A, creates an emulsion, and B, is sort of a nice fluffy sort of consistency, a bit like a mousse. And as you can see here, it's all created an emulsion, and we've got this nice beautiful sort of creamy texture. Then you'll want to take the temperature, because we need to wait for this to cool to 40 degrees C or under before we can add our cool down phase ingredients. Those cool down phase ingredients are our preservative, of which I'm using preservative 12. This is phenoxyethanol EHG. It's a commonly used broad spectrum preservative. And then I'm also using saccharide isomerate plus. This is a really good hydrating moisturisation ingredient which penetrates deep levels of the skin, and also keeps working after rinse off, so it is good in rinse off products. And then of course we've got our exfoliant, which is our coffee grounds. I've put 0.5%, 1 gram of this. You can use less, you can use more, it's completely up to you. Just remember to adjust your formula afterwards so that you have the correct percentages. While we're waiting for that to cool, I'm going to quickly tell you about my formulation course. This is designed for beginners. It has slide information and video demos, including 16 different formulas that you can follow, in a hope to get you formulating your own cosmetic products by the end of it, and understanding better how ingredients go together so that you can create your own cosmetic line, either as a hobby or for sale. The link to this is in the description below, and if you use the discount listed, then you'll get 10% off. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it helps a lot of you. And now back to the video. So this is nearly cooled down now, so I'm going to get my little pot ready. I don't have many of these left, so I'm just making use of this one. Just give it a stir, just to make sure the temperature's even throughout, and then you can take the temperature again to make sure it's right for adding your cool down ingredients. Both my cameras stopped working there, but what I've added is my preservative, my saccharide isomerate plus, and also my coffee grounds. And then we're just going to whip that up again. If you don't want a very whipped texture, you can stir that in by hand instead of whipping. It's completely up to you. Whipping will just give you a more mousse type texture once it's all firmed up. And there you can see the texture today. I'd suggest leaving it overnight because you tend to get the final viscosity after about a day. And also make sure you check and adjust the pH if you need to. It should be around 4.5 to 5.5. You shouldn't need to, simply because SCI is very mild, but it's always good to check anyway. And then just jar it up and it's ready to use. So I'll do a little foam test for you first, just on my hands. It gets a really nice lather. It's not too scratchy because coffee grounds can be a bit scratchy if you use too many, so this is just about the right amount. And then you get this nice lather on your hands, and it rinses off nicely without any residue, leaving your hands feeling really soft. And then let's try it on a loofah to get some nice bubbles. And you can see it's really bubbly, and that's because we've added sort of even amounts of SCI and cocamidal propylbutane. You can adjust those amounts yourself to get the kind of lather foam that you want, but I find that even amounts tend to give you sort of a good bubble lather ratio. And here it is, all finished. Like I said, if you don't like coffee, you can change this recipe up so it's not coffee themed. All you need to do is replace the coffee butter and obviously the coffee grounds. I've made suggestions for this in the blog post that's available to download in PDF format with the formula all written out with direction. And that's on my Patreon, and I also post 2 exclusive formulas every month, and they all come with downloadable formula PDFs, and I'm also there for mentoring if you wish. Thanks for watching. I hope you like the formula. Don't forget to like and subscribe as normal, and I'll see you in the next one.